You ever have one of those dreams? I know a floating house would be really cool, but how do you get your groceries? Alright, so I'm starting off with a sketch I made and I'm plotting key points onto some graph paper, use the edge of the paper as a straight edge, and then just cutting that out, transferring it to some basswood, and then cutting out the basswood. This will be the facade of the house. And now, just the same deal with the porch. I'm using 3 random sticks of basswood and gluing them with some contact cement to a sheet of basswood just to give the porch some thickness. And now I'm ready to start building up the porch. These will be the posts for the porch. You'll notice I don't measure with a ruler. I measure against the template or the actual object that I'm making. Not only is it much faster, it actually can be more accurate, and you might only have to trim a little bit here and there, but again, it's faster and more accurate. Just popping out the windows and the door. I will be using that door as a door. Okay, this is a fantastic shot of me gluing the bottom edge of the facade to the porch and then just using some blue painter's tape to hold it in place while it dries. These little pieces will be the actual railings. And then gluing everything together with some contact cement. This stuff is great, dries fast, holds really well. Again, just measuring against the actual house as I'm making it. Little trims here and there just to get that angle right. I'm not a roofer, so this is actually the first time I'm doing something like this. And I'm just using a little block as a spacer for the railings. For the windows and the door trim, I want this to actually look like trim, so I'm using these little pieces of scrap as the trim. Again, measuring against the actual house just to make sure I'm nice and accurate and that these will snap into place and hold really nice and tight. To keep everything in place, I'm actually gluing this together while it's attached to a little bit of painter's tape, and then gluing that on with the contact cement to this sheet of clear vinyl. This is actually just some kind of protective sheet that came with some cutting boards my wife got recently. And yes, I am painting the trim while the sheet of plastic is on there. The reason I'm doing that is I tried to paint these without the plastic holding it together, but they're really delicate. It started kind of moving them, shifting their shape, and then one of them actually kind of collapsed. So the plastic is actually just holding everything together for me. The trick here is just to use a flat brush and then just be really careful and go slowly. That little gold dot below my hand is the doorknob, and it's just a bamboo stick I found and sanded down to a little ball. Alright, I have no idea why I started with the roof. This is actually the house color. I'll just have to fix it later. Hey, while you're watching me paint this, now's a great time to hit that subscribe and like button. See, I told you I'd fix it. So a little black paint here. For the lower roof, I'm using a flat brush again, just to try and make sure that I stay off the underside of that roof where I've actually painted the house color. Now I'm just going back to paint the white trim on the front of the roof, and that just kind of paints over the black that kind of leaked over the edge as I was painting the roof. With the windows, I was actually considering just using LEDs to kind of light everything up. I thought that one, that'd be a little hokey, but two, LEDs only last about 10 years, and in my imagination, this thing's going to be around for 80 years. So I'm painting some nice bright yellow as the light coming out of the house. I'm painting the back of these because the plastic gives it a nice shine and will make it look a little bit more like glass. Now it's time to just pop these in there. Look at that fit. First time. Well, okay, as far as you know. Yes, I had to go and adjust these a little bit. And now I'm holding them in place with some more contact cement. To make the ladder, I'm using some twine, measuring against the house, just to make sure it's the right width. And this cutting board has these vertical lines, so I'm just using that to keep the twine straight. And then just using these sticks of scrap to make the rungs of the ladder. Now I'm just going back to some glue all as I glue these in place. This is actually the back of the ladder, so when you look at the finished piece, you'll be looking at the strings and then the rungs behind it. All right, now I'm gonna make the mailbox, and I'm using another stick of basswood. Pro tip here is if you only need a little bit of paint, just squeeze it straight out onto the brush. For the front or the actual body of the mailbox, I'm using a sheet of basswood and just cutting out the rough shape. I'll eventually sand this gently into shape. I'm going to double up on this. I don't show it here, but I double up on that shape and make it a little thicker. A pro tip, though, is to not paint and then let it dry on a sheet of paper, because you will be scraping paper off the back of it for 15 minutes. For the handle, the lettering, and the actual trim outline for the mailbox, I'm using the very tip of a fine paintbrush. All right, just let that dry. For the background, I imagined this as a really kind of flat, almost cartoonish image. Normally, I like a lot of texture in my painting, but in this case, I'm mixing dark blue, light blue, and white. That gives me some visual texture. And then for the white, I don't mix it in fully, so that way as I paint, it gives me the illusion of some kind of wispy clouds streaking through. For the ground and the sky separation, I imagined this as a really nice kind of heavy line. So I'm just going through here really slowly, painting with a heavy amount of paint, making sure that that line is nice and crisp. I really don't like detail work like this. It really makes me nervous. So I'm just taking my time here and painting over as I need. One thing you'll notice though is that this background painting is different than the final piece I'm going to show you. And I explain why in a bit, but the final piece I think came out much better. It has a little bit more of a dynamic nature to it, and I think I like the colors better anyway, so kind of happy accident. And now just putting the little house on here, and I'm almost done. All right, so I am done with that piece, and I'm really happy with the way it came out. It is fun, it is surreal, definitely what I was going for. Bonus points, my wife likes it, so I'm very happy with that. Now, I did come out originally and discover that the house was tilted a little bit, and so I actually had to surgically cut that off after a little bit of swearing. Although I did end up damaging the canvas, I don't know if you can tell, but I repainted it. I'll find something to do with that canvas. There's always a good use for that. But either way, I just hope I have inspired you to make your own painting, your own mixed media, whatever it is. Go out and be creative, and don't worry about what the critics might say. They don't really matter. All right, I will talk to you later, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye.